Let's check up. Let's check up. Pull up a chair for the Midweek Checkup now.
Welcome to the Midweek Checkup. My name is Bobby Gilles, and I'm joined by Lindsey Blair. This past Sunday, Pastor Jonah preached from Hebrews 11, verses 17 through 40, in our series called A Life Worth Living.
Pastor Jonah said that by faith we choose to live for God's tomorrow, even when that means suffering today. But if you missed this sermon or need help remembering, let's do the Midweek Checkup.
Jonah began by saying that each of the people in this Bible passage were tested by suffering. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and Moses' faith all led them into periods of significant hardship. The scriptures celebrate their faith, but we must realize that their faith was forged in hardship. If you are interested in a life worth living, a life that endures until the end and remains tenderhearted, you must learn how to suffer in such a way that your faith is strengthened, not stifled.
Jonah focused on Moses. He said that Moses chose to live for God's tomorrow, even when it meant suffering today. Remember who the preacher is saying this to. People who are daily suffering, daily being tested, constantly exposed to the weariness and discouragement and sin. It's easy to wonder if your life would be easier if you weren't a Christian. That's the temptation of Moses in us. He accepted present suffering because he was confident of God's future.
Moses was a real human. He committed real human sins, but he pressed into God's mission for his life. He learned faith in God. Christian faith is not a pie-in-the-sky, blissful ignorance. Faith does not mean we just pretend that there's no Pharaoh. We do not pretend there is no infertility or there is no spot on the scan. Faith does not say you don't have scars or they didn't actually do that to you. Faith sees all of it.
Our text says it was by faith that Moses commanded the people of Israel to keep the Passover and to sprinkle blood on the doorpost so that the angel of death would not kill their firstborn sons. Fortunately for us, a second Moses came, a second liberator, one who would spend his childhood as a refuge fleeing another king seeking to kill male Hebrew babies, one who would spend time wandering a wilderness, one who would suffer and be tempted in every way, but he would not offer a lamb to protect God's people from judgment. He was the lamb.
The blood of Jesus shed for us on the cross not only keeps us safe from the angel of death, it purifies us down to the soul and marrow so that we can be touched by God. We have a promise that one day God will wipe away all of our tears. So with faith, we choose to look for that day.
Next Sunday, we'll continue our series called A Life Worth Living, and in Bible Fellowship, we'll discuss a passage in 1 Peter, a letter that Apostle Peter wrote to groups of Christians who had been scattered throughout Asia Minor. Join us and bring a friend.